Welcome to the Encouragement Engineering Podcast. We combat the negativity that inundates the daily lives with positive perspective and positive action. Today's guest is David Wood. David is an author and former consulting actuary to Fortune 100 companies. He built the world's largest coaching business, becoming #1 on Google for life coaching, coaching thousands of hours in 12 different countries around the globe. He helps business owners and leaders become the badass leaders people want to follow, creating more authenticity, connection, confidence, and revenue. Besides helping others, David is no stranger to overcoming challenges himself. He survived a full collapse of his paraglider and fractured spine. And he also witnessed the death of his sister at the age of 7 and has gone through anxiety and depression. On a more encouraging note, David was a guest on the National Gong Show. So please welcome to the show, David Wood. David, thank you for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, mate. My pleasure.
Great. Well, hey, why don't we tell a little bit about you so people understand who you are and how you got to where you are today?
Okay, well, short version, I grew up in a country town in Australia and was very left-brained. I didn't know that was the way I developed, but I had a tragedy when I was young, and apparently one of the responses is to shut down emotions and just get really good at thinking and logic. So the silver lining was I came top of my school. I got paid to go to college. I was really good at business and numbers and systems, consulting to Ford and Sony Music and Exxon at the age of 24 on Park Avenue. So it seemed like I had it made in the shade. And then I discovered that there was a lot more to life. And I wasn't happy and I had stress. And so I finally went to a personal growth seminar and discovered that I knew nothing about true intimacy, true integrity, authenticity, transparency, leadership. And I got very, very interested in that. So I quit my job and went and sat with teachers and gurus and did things that would freak out most human beings to discover what it is to be human. So now I'm an unusual coach. If people say they just want more money, I say, go to somebody else. You know, plenty of people can help you double your business. But if you want to work on your business and you want to grow as a person and have a fulfilling life so that on your deathbed, you can say, I gave it everything. That gets me interested, and that's who I coach.
Awesome. And that's pretty interesting because I think that rounds out the people. It's not just our business. We're people first. And when I talk to corporate audiences, it's a realization, realizing that people are there. You know, they're the ones doing the work, and they come to work with the problems. They come with the worries of home life, of parent life, of whatever else they may encounter. And that's important that you round that out, because growing your business, but growing as a person is so critical for that business growth as well as our personal growth. It's interesting too, because I think what I like about,
hang on just a second. Something just happened with the audio, and now I see your lips moving.
Okay.
But I'm not actually. Can you say something now?
ABC 1, 2, 3. How about now?
Yeah, we don't want that one.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you real well. You got muffled up before.
All right. No, I know exactly what to do.
Okay.
We're good.
But
yeah.
now. Okay.
Yeah. Little glitch.
Yeah, that's what technology does for us, you know?
Yeah.
You got to be adaptable.
That's right.
It's interesting on your website, though, it talks about focusing on less. With our society today running at 900 miles an hour, how do you help people focus on less? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive because the mind, and I'll include my mind in it, says more.
Yeah.
Let's do more. Wake up in the morning and things start flooding into the brain. Just go and look at your to-do list. I've got a to-do list for work. I've got a to-do list for acting, which I do on the side. I got a to-do list for self-care. You know, there's so many. And it's like Thomas Leonard, the father of modern coaching, said, ideas assail me with such velocity that I am defenseless.
Okay. Wow.
And in this day and age, we got so much information and stimulus and entertainment options and Facebook and apps. And what happens is it's overwhelming, and we wonder why we're stressed and we need to go and have a beer or a glass of wine or some sugar or some TV to medicate. And it seems counterintuitive, but what we need is some form of triage.
Mhm.
We need, I believe we've got two parts within us. We've got the worker who can get stuff done and take direction. And we've got the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, cerebral function, can say, okay, what matters? The problem is we're often not executing the cerebral function, using the executive function of the brain. We're not doing any triage.
Right.
So I had one client, very successful guy, and he wondered why he had no time. When someone wanted a call with him, he'd go and put it on his calendar. He's very organized, put it on his calendar, but he wasn't saying no to anything. So what we need to do is take all the possibilities, and I need a breath just talking about this. Take all the possibilities, create some sort of a plan. I usually have my clients work 12 months out. What would have you do the happy dance? Okay. I had one client say, I've got 20 goals. Is that too many? Yes. Pick the 3 top business goals, the 3 top life goals. The rest of them, you don't have to throw them away, but put them in a drawer. Mm-hmm. And maybe you'll pull them out as a reward when you achieve one of the others. Now, it's hard for a lot of us. We're like, no, I want it all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you try and do it all, you might not do any of it, or it'll take you 5 years instead of 1.
Right.
So that's 12 months out, but that's too far out to really be practical. So we bring it back to 12 weeks. What would have you do the happy dance 12 weeks from now? That's coming up. Like right now, that'll be, I think, October 11. Right? That starts to get more real. then we bring it back. Okay, for the next 7 days, what will you choose to care about? And what will you choose not to care about? And you may find some resistance to that because, again, the mind's, oh, but I want it. This is important. It's all important. And this will make me more money. And someone needs me for this. And I've got a job and I've got a whatever. I had one client this week earning 20 million a year in revenue. And he said, I don't have time. I don't have time for exercise because the mind is telling him all of these things matter. So look, resistance is normal, but you might need someone to slap you around a little bit and say, look, come on, what is really critical out of this? Okay. Then we work out what matters. And these other things I'll put in a drawer. And if I get the other things done, I get to open the drawer and do some bonus stuff.
Cool.
So when you focus on less, you'll actually, if doubling your business is what you want, you'll get there faster if you choose one marketing method instead of 3.
Right.
If you choose to focus on hiring this week instead of hiring and marketing and taxes.
Right.
So counterintuitive, but the old story of the tortoise and the hare. I'm not actually saying you need to go slower, but you can get twice as much of what matters done in half the time. That's a 4x in productivity.
Yeah. And it's like the magnifying glass syndrome. Think about what that does. It focuses the light that's way all over the place here and brings it all to a certain point and gets that focus, gets that fire started, gets that burning, gets that, ignition. And that's what you're talking about doing.
That's why I called my latest brand focus.ceo. I could have called it so many things. But that one word, what you focus on, you create.
Right.
So what is it that you are going to create? And can you have the discipline to say no to the other things, at least for now? You'll have more peace. You'll get there faster. You'll ideally have more fun. Yeah. Life gets better.
Not a bad formula there for that. That sounds great. In 12 weeks. I mean, that is obtainable. You think about it, and then do you ever get the point where people are fearful because all of a sudden they're 12 weeks? Oh my God, I got to do that. I got to, how do you help calm that stress factor that people come up of? It's got to be done in a hurry.
I don't know that my clients don't seem to freak out about 12 weeks.
Okay.
But sometimes they think that more has to be done in 7 days. It's like this week I have too much to do. And particularly in a day, you start talking about, you wake up like, what am I going to get done today? Everything seems like it's critical. It's got to be done. I don't give this to all my clients, but one was having trouble with the triage part. She just saw everything that had to be done and everyone was waiting on her for things and it was overwhelming. And so I just gave a very simple tool. You may have heard of it. You do a grid of 4 quadrants,
Yep.
and across the top, you've got important and less important. And then on the other, down on the vertical axis, you've got urgent and less urgent.
Yeah.
And then that can help you break it down. Whatever's really important and it's urgent, well, let's do that first. She inspired me to look at my list today. I was going through the list of personal admin stuff and just thinking, well, you know, that car appointment doesn't have to be done this month. It'd be nice, but it could wait another month. Okay. And then claiming that insurance policy. Yeah, I could do that a month from now. So, you know, it seems like, oh, I've got to get all this done. It's loading up. No, not necessarily. You might, one of the items on my list was check Amazon ads, because I've released a book called Mouse in the Room, drop a little plug for that. And I've got some Amazon ads running. And then it occurred to me, well, that'd be a good thing to tweak and get right now, because that can be paying for itself over and over, day after day. So, okay, we'll bump that up on the list. We need to do the triage so that we can then have the worker come out, and the worker's great at chopping wood, carrying water. Chop wood, carry water. But if you try and plan and work and plan and work at the same time, that's where we get into a lot of trouble. So do your long-term planning, your 3 months, your 7 days, and then before you go to bed, work out the 2 things that matter most for tomorrow. It can be that simple. And then you wake up, you see your Post-it notes on your computer or your desk. And then if you've got the discipline, do those things before you check Facebook, before you check email, before you check voicemail. Work for yourself first, and then deal with other people's agenda.
And that's a great reminder for people. Work for yourself first before everybody else, because I'll do that in the morning. I get up real early and I have my quiet time, and I'll read some Bible verses. I'll meditate. I'll pray. That's my time before I check that email, because I know as soon as I check that email, there's 20 to 30 emails there, and somebody from, at night, might be different time zone, whatever. They're trying to get a hold of you about something, and your mind can go 15 different directions. Take the time for yourself to start your day off right. It just really solidifies your day.
Yeah. And you'll feel better.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you probably won't get everything done that you wanted to do, because we tend to bite off way too much. But at least you can say, well, I did those 2 things that matter. I did that thing I've been putting off for 2 weeks.
Right.
It's just been weighing on me, and that's done. I did that thing that's most likely to generate revenue, and I did that thing for my wife or my husband that is going to make them happy. I did those things. I didn't get all the other stuff done, but I did that. Isn't that better than being super busy all day and then knowing that you didn't really move the needle in your life or business?
Right.
That doesn't feel good. That's out of integrity.
Right. And it's out of your goal. You want your goals. You want to achieve those goals, and that's part of your growth. So I find it interesting too, when reviewing your website and so forth, you talk about focus coaching. You get clear, you stay focused, double businesses, and be extraordinary. Tell us a little bit more about that focus coaching, because you've talked about a couple examples more, but if you can tell us a little bit more about that, because I think that summarizes it pretty well. Getting clear, staying focused, doubling your business, and be extraordinary.
Yeah, the be extraordinary, I think, is the most interesting and most fun. I mean, the business stuff, I mean, working with a client who was clear that he wanted life things first, right? He wanted self-care practices and health, which shows a lot of intelligence, that he wanted his foundation right. So we spent the first couple of sessions on that. But then today he's like, I need to increase sales. Okay, let's get started. So I guess now I am going back to the business stuff, and then I'll get to the extraordinary. So, I don't use a cookie cutter system. I don't have a paint by numbers system. I just let whatever's going to come into my head come when it needs to come. And he's like, I want to increase sales. I'm like, great. Went to the website, found a couple of things that he could change. I said, how's your follow-up sequence? He said, terrible. Okay, great. I want you to create 6 pieces of content that'll really deliver value and come up with 9 emails, 3 pieces of content, and then a promotion, 3 pieces of content, then a promotion. That's all for now. Like, that's one thing, put it on the list.
Right.
We don't know when you're going to do it yet, but just put it on the list. And then came up with 6 or 7 other things, all right? Let's look at alliance marketing. Let's look at paid advertising. Let's look at publicity. You might be able to do a stunt that's going to really help you. Let's look at your upsell strategy. Let's look at your referral strategy. Let's put this on the list. And then his homework was put those, add anything else that he's been thinking about or wanting to try, and then put them in order of priority.
Yeah.
Because when you say to someone, create a business plan, that I remember I used to hate that. I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
But it's just a list of the stuff that would make sense for you to do. Put it in order of priority and then put a due date next to each one. And that'll be your draft plan, and we'll go over it next session. So boom, right? There's the business handled. But the extraordinary thing, I just wrote an ad today for the book Mouse in the Room. And one of the markets that this book serves is parents.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, what is this book offering? And I wrote, be an extraordinary parent. How to speak your truth with your kids so they can speak their truth with you. And I think that's a really good recipe for, it's a doorway to being extraordinary. See, I believe, Bob, that most people, and I'm one of them, have been trained to hide a lot of ourselves from the world and also from ourselves.
Right.
You know, maybe you say something and I find it a little bit insulting. Not that you would do that. I might find it a little bit insulting, but I know from experience, if I say I'm upset by that, then you might get upset by that and get offended. And then, you know, one thing leads to another. It doesn't go well. So I might just squash it down and just kind of gloss over it. But it's sitting there. And we learn over the years to just gloss over so many things, so many feelings, so many thoughts that we have, so many desires, so many tolerations. They're all squished down. They're there in the subconscious.
Right.
And then we wonder why we get sick. So the book Mouse in the Room was written to help us discover what's actually happening for us. What is going on for me? Okay, I know I don't like this. Let me work out why. Or I know I want something different. Let me work out what it is and why. I call these mice. We all know about the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
You see it, I see it, no one's saying anything. Okay, that's weird. You should stop ignoring the elephant in the room and start addressing it.
Yeah.
But many creatures in the room are much more subtle. Those are our thoughts and feelings that haven't been named yet, and I call those mice. So why don't we share our mice? One, we're not aware of them. We don't know what they are. We're just not clear. Secondly, we might not have the courage yet. It might take a bit of courage to share it with someone. And thirdly, we don't have a roadmap or a skill set on how to do that.
Right.
I had a prospective client schedule a call with me, and we're going to talk and see if coaching was a fit and if I'd be the right coach. And I showed up on time and he's not there. I go and check my messages. 10 minutes before the call, there was a message saying, hey, can we push it back? I've had something come up. Okay. Now, if you're like me, your first reaction might be, I don't want to reschedule the call. I just felt resistance, but I couldn't name why. So of course, most people wouldn't even, we might just suck it up because I want to get a new client. So maybe I just won't say anything and I hope that doesn't happen again. How common is that? Or I don't think this guy's serious. I don't feel respected. I'm just going to say no. You blew it. You didn't even apologize. Plus, you didn't even cancel. You asked if you could reschedule it, but didn't wait for an answer. That's like, so those would be common reactions. And I thought, well, I wrote a book on this, so I should probably do something different. So I filled in the 3D worksheet, which comes with the book, and I tried to work out what's going on. And I realized I don't feel like my time's being respected. I have a sense or a story that maybe coaching is really not a priority for him. And I don't know if this is going to happen again. If he's going to do this call, why would I expect anything would be different if I reschedule? So I texted him and I said, jump on Zoom with me. It'll just take 2 minutes. It's important and it could actually make a difference. And so he jumped on Zoom and I used the procedure in the book to let him know. I said, look, I've got some stories going about this. They may not be true, but can I let you know the impact of the text that you sent? He's like, okay. And I told him all the stuff I just shared with you. And I said, I'm not saying you don't respect my time, but that's how it felt. And that's half an hour of my time I'm not going to get back. I couldn't schedule someone else there. And now I'm thinking, is this guy really serious? And if he's going to treat this call like that, how's he going to treat our coaching if he becomes a client? And, he took a minute to sit with it and he said, wow, okay, firstly, I'm feeling like a jerk for just blowing you off and doing that 10 minutes before and not even apologizing. I was like, okay, good to know. And secondly, I feel like I trust you more now and I'm leaning into coaching with you because I feel like if you're going to be straight with me about this, you're going to be straight with me about other stuff I might need to hear. So it's counterintuitive, but I really believe that if you're willing to risk discovering your mice and then naming them, people will want to work with you more. They'll want to be around you more. They will want to date you or marry you more. Mark Manson from The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. I don't know what I can say on this podcast. He's got this wonderful quote. The more you try and get people to like you, the less they will.
Right.
People need a little friction to trust you.
Yeah.
Well, this book is about how to very nicely and to minimize the friction, but share your truth. And back to your question, I think this is a doorway to being extraordinary because people aren't used to it.
Right. And it's interesting. You bring up the concept a couple times in your conversation here, taking time to step back and look at the situation. There's a Japanese, idea of that where they take 2 hours a day and focus on planning and goal orientations. And, it's quiet time. There's not work. It's focus on thinking and then taking that time to do that. As Americans, we don't do that. We're constantly going and we've got to take that time and even mention that, with some of the worksheets of the book, take the time, stop and do this exercise. We've got to remember to do that and think about our thoughts, think about how it's making us feel. Like you said, name your mice that are in your life. And that helps you identify it so you know how to react or respond when those situations occur.
Yeah. And it's so tempting to skip the planning because we're so busy, right?
Oh yeah.
But I was coached a celebrity one time who was very, very busy, very, very successful, and was very time scarce.
Yeah.
And said, I don't have the time to hire an assistant. I don't have the time to do the planning. And I said, sometimes when you're drowning, you still need to carve out time for swimming lessons.
Yeah.
And again, it might seem counterintuitive. You're like, oh, I can't do it. I've just got to splash around. A client today didn't fill in the self-coaching form. I have a form that all my clients fill in before we talk so that they coach themselves as if I didn't exist. Then I read it, come to the call, and we build upon it. And I said, how do you feel about not doing the form? And she talked herself into doing it. She said, oh, I thought I was too busy, but it's a really good practice. I get to celebrate what I've actually accomplished. I get to plan my day. I said, yeah. And there's even a question in the form that says, what could someone else be doing? You think 10 minutes of these really amazing questions might actually save you more than 10 minutes, maybe save you an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours? And she's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. So I build it in as a system when I work with people. Even 10 minutes can make a really big difference.
Right. Well, and taking that time is definitely important. I think that's, you mentioned it too in one of the chapters about your book, about those tough conversations as a parent. I'm a father of 3 boys. there's some tough conversations you got to have, and they're not easy. And I dropped the ball on some of those conversations, and that's something I got to live with. Was it easy? No, because what you had to deal with on the other side was a lot bigger than if you just took the time and had the conversation.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I don't want to have it because it's going to be awkward. But then when you finally do, I had a tough conversation today with Kaiser Permanente, my healthcare provider. I'll save you the details, but they sent me a bill and I was like, that doesn't feel good or right. I think this is inappropriate. And what it started with was upset. That was my reaction because I was, old patterns of feeling taken advantage of, right? So something happens, we load up an emotion, and I really wasn't looking forward to having that call. Where my mind went is we're going to end up in small claims court because I felt very strongly about it. And I was so sure, Bob, that they wouldn't change the billing.
Right.
It was my assumption. Don't we do that? We just have these stories in the book. I call them storytelling mice. Okay. Because story. So I had a story, but I didn't know it was a story. I wasn't walking around going, oh, I've got a story about them. No, we live as if it's real.
Right.
I called up, I got the nicest lady, and I said, you've got an interesting job. I imagine it's quite difficult. She said, well, I love helping people. So let's see if I can help you. And we talked about it, whatever. She waived the bill.
Wow.
Done. And I'm the possibility guy. That's my job, is generating possibility for a living. And I fell into the trap here, and it just stunned me. Also, just yesterday, I had this, in the building I live in, people told me you can wait weeks to get a maintenance request handled. Right. And I've seen how they handle other things. So I'm like, it's never going to happen. So I put up with something for weeks. Today I said, look, if you don't even speak up and name your desire mouse, then you forfeit the right to complain. So I made a phone call. She logged it into the system. And then I took the dog for a walk, came back from the walk, and the door was double locked. And I never double locked my door. I'm like, no. Open up the door, went and checked the dripping tap. I tell you, it might seem like a little thing, but that thing has been such a pain in my butt, and it's working perfectly. I couldn't believe it happened.
That's great.
What if every tough conversation you're thinking about or avoiding, what if it might actually end up going very well?
Right.
You don't know until you try.
Get
the book, read the 3D process, print off the form, fill it in if you have a tough conversation. You may be stunned.
And that's the best part about it, is let's give it a shot. I mean, try it. Like you said, you'll never get the answer to that question you never ask. So why not ask the question? No. Yeah. Well, David, where can people find out more about you, your book? Tell us where they can get a hold of you and all that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, if you're interested in better communication, either as parents or for relationships or for leadership and management for your team, go to mouseintheroom.com. The worksheet I mentioned, the 3D process, is a free download. You can download it right there today. If you want to get the book, there'll be a link to get it on Amazon, on Kindle, or in paperback. If something about this interview today had you think, I think coaching might make a difference to my business and my life, and you're an entrepreneur or business owner who's already up and running with some success in your business, you can go to mouseintheroom.com, click on coaching in the navigation menu, and apply for a session. I don't charge for those initial sessions because it's how I find the right people to work with. And I can usually tell in 15, 20 minutes if I can generate results for you or not. And you can do both of those things at mouseintheroom.com.
Great. Well, we'll definitely put that in the show notes. And David, I want to thank you again for taking the time today. Thank you for being a guest on the Encouragement Engineering podcast. I really appreciate your time, appreciate your insight, and the demeanor with which, you're helping the world. It's a great, great aspect that you're doing for our world. So thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. Good to meet you, Bob.
You too. You take care. You have a great evening.